basic butchery tools and equipment. In ancient times, stone tools were used to eviscerate an animal and then divide it into its primal cuts. As humans evolved, they developed metal tools to do these tasks. Today, we find tools in the meat industry that enable tasks to be done rapidly and with minimal waste. The list of equipment available and all of their intended uses could fill this book alone. Therefore, only the most basic equipment used for butchery is included. Knives. What knives do you need to fabricate meat? There are many available knives, and some of them are specific cutting techniques. For specific cutting techniques. Meat fabrication knives. 1. Boning knife. Available in lengths from 5 to 6 inches and a variety of flexes from completely stiff to very flexible. For general meat cutting, a semi flexible 6-inch boning knife will perform well. There are straight and angle blades available. The handle of a boning knife needs to fit the user's hand properly, and some texture on the handle may be helpful to reduce slippage. Different boning knives are suggested for a variety of tasks. For instance, boning a pork loin requires a knife with some flex to be able to flatten out while boning to increase the surface area covered. If boning a straight line bone, such as a shank or femur, a non-flexible or stiff boning knife will be more stable. 2. A scimitar. Available in lengths from 10 to 16 inches, this non-flexing knife is curved to allow for smooth trimming of large meat cuts and portion cutting of steaks and cutlets, stew, or cubes. Due to its curved edge, it is not typically used for mincing or chopping. 3. A chef's knife. A non-flexible 8 to 10-inch knife that can be used for trimming large cuts and portion cutting, mincing, and chopping. However, it can be a little cumbersome due to its width. 4. A slicer. A 12-inch knife that is available in flexible, semi-flexible, or stiff models. It is thinner than the chef's knife, and unlike the scimitar, has a straight edge. It is good for trimming large cuts and portioning cuts. 5. A clam knife. A clam knife may come in handy when Frenching racks of lamb or veal. It is used to scrape the membranes off the bones. Sharpening steel and stones. Sharpening and honing your knife will make it more accurate and reduce the amount of meat cuts and injuries. A sharp knife is easily maintained with the proper stone and steel. Stones come in various degrees of grit. The higher the grit number, the finer the stone. A typical coarse grit for knives would be 600 and a fine grit 1000. Usually, a knife would be sharpened on the coarse grit first and finished on the fine grit to polish the edge. Some knives made from very hard steel can be sharpened with a higher grit, such as 3000 to 6000. A softer, inexpensive knife would not be able to reap the rewards of these very fine grits. Some stones are intended for use with mineral or honing oil, and others are used with water. Never sharpen a knife on a dry stone. Metal flakes will build up in the stone and render it ineffective. A sharpening steel is used to hone or correct the knife's edge by slicing the edge of the knife down each side of the steel. It is not a replacement for the stone, and if an edge is lost, it needs to be sharpened, not steeled. Meat cleaver. Cleavers are available in a variety of weights and sizes. A meat cleaver is used primarily for cutting chops and needs to be relatively heavy. Needs to be relatively heavy to break through the chine bones. A meat cleaver can only be used on a butcher block so as not to damage other cutting boards. The butcher block has a natural grain that absorbs the shock of the cleaver. A small cleaver may be used to help fabricate poultry or cooked bone-in roasts. Handsaw. Cutting through bone structure can be a challenge and demands nearly as much accuracy as a knife. A quality handsaw can greatly increase the options available to the butcher. Be sure the saw is intended for food use. Food grade. Bandsaw. A bandsaw, although expensive, enables the fabrication of an enormous variety of cuts, such as bone-in steaks, chops, various bone-in roasts, also buko, stews, and bones for soup. Extreme caution must be used when operating a handsaw. Proper cleaning and maintenance is necessary. A meat grinder. A grinder has a wide range of uses, including in-house burgers, sausages, and force meats. Meat grinders are available in a variety of sizes and power ranges. However, rather than buy a separate machine, grinding attachments for other kitchen machinery, such as a mixer or chopper, are an inexpensive alternative. Larger tabletop or floor models offer more horsepower and decrease time required to grind large quantities. Proper procedures include proper procedures include the chilling, grinder parts, and meat.